Her name was Mara Bennett, and she had been my best friend for 6 years. I'm long enough to know exactly how she took her coffee, exactly how quiet she got when she was upset, and exactly what kind of mood she was in from the sound of her footsteps alone. We met because she almost hit me with a bicycle. That is not an exaggeration. I was crossing campus with headphones in, not paying attention, when she swerved at the last second, shouted, "Move, genius!" and nearly launched both of us into a hedge. I yelled something offended back. She parked the bike, marched over, and informed me that if I was going to walk like a man recently released into society, I should at least look both ways. That should have been the end of it. Instead, I laughed. She tried not to. That was Mara. Sharp, smart, a little impossible, and somehow easier to be around than anyone else I knew. After that, well, we became the kind of friends people got wrong immediately. Late night food runs, bad movie marathons, phone calls when something went wrong, phone calls when nothing was wrong and one of us just didn't feel like being alone. People always assumed there was something more. We always said there wasn't. Or more accurately, I said there wasn't. And Mara usually just gave people a look that made them regret speaking. She dated a few guys over the years. None of them lasted. I dated too, but not well. The truth was, every relationship I had ever tried felt like it existed around the edges of my real life. And my real life, for reasons I never examined closely enough, had Mara in the center of it. Still, I never said that out loud. Maybe because she mattered too much. Maybe because joking was easier. And that was why she had called me the minute she signed the lease on her new apartment 3 weeks ago. Not her sister, not one of the women she worked with. Me. And now, apparently, helping her furnish it meant following her around a street market while she rejected perfectly normal lamps for being emotionally cold. They are lamps, I told her. They set the mood of a room. They provide light. She gave me a look. You live like a man who thinks one gray blanket counts as interior design. That blanket works hard. It looks depressed. That was us. Easy, fast, familiar enough to hide inside. Which was why the blush hit me so hard. Because Mara did not blush around me, not ever. The vendor wrapped the green lamp in newspaper and slid it across the counter. Mara paid for it without looking away from her wallet, and which was unusual in itself. She was suddenly too careful with everything, her voice, her hands, even the way she stood. I picked up the bag and said lightly, "So, my wife, huh?" There. An opening, a joke, a chance for her to snap back and put the whole thing safely back where it belonged. Instead, Mara pressed her lips together, like she was trying very hard not to say the wrong thing in public. Then she muttered, "Let's just go." That should have worried me more than it did. Outside, the market spilled into the square in messy rows of stalls and people weaving around each other with paper bags and coffees. A violinist was playing near the fountain, something soft and old-fashioned. The whole place smelled like rain and pastries and damp wood. Mara walked beside me, but not quite like usual. Too quiet. Too aware. I tried once. "Oh, you know I was kidding, right?" She kept her eyes ahead. "I know. That sounded like you don't know. It sounded like I'm trying not to make this worse." That stopped me. I turned toward her. "Make what worse?" Mara let out a breath and looked like she regretted all of it already. Not the day, not being with me. Just this turn the conversation had taken. The one neither of us could seem to steer away from. We reached the edge of the square just as the first drops of rain started falling. People moved faster. Stalls started covering boxes with tarps. Someone cursed while folding up chairs. Mara glanced up at the sky, then at the bag in my hand and said, "Come on." We ducked under the awning of a closed bakery 2 doors down. For a second, neither of us spoke. Cars hissed through the wet street. Rain tapped against the metal awning above us. Mara stood with her hands tucked into the pockets of her coat, looking out at the sidewalk like it had become very interesting all of a sudden. "Mara, what? What is happening?" She laughed once, quiet and almost tired. "That's a little unfair." "How?" "Because I'm pretty sure I've been broadcasting this for months." My chest tightened. "Broadcasting what?" She turned then. Really turned, like she was done pretending I could still miss this if she said it clearly enough. and suddenly every small thing from the last year started rearranging itself in my head. The way she always saved me a seat, the way she went quiet every time I mentioned another girl, the way she looked at my apartment like she was already picturing herself there, and then immediately changed the subject, in the way everyone else seemed less confused than I was. Mara, I said slowly. She shook her head once, almost smiling, but there was nothing easy in it. Then she stepped a little closer, close enough that her voice didn't need to be louder than the rain. And with her cheeks still pink and her eyes locked on mine, she whispered, "I'd love that." For a second, I honestly thought I had heard her wrong. Not the words, the meaning. Because once Mara said them out loud, everything I had spent years filing under friendship started shifting at once. The late night calls, the way she always looked annoyed whenever I talked about someone I was dating, the way she somehow ended up beside me in every room, every party, every bad week, every good one, the way nothing in my life had ever felt as steady as her. And Mara must have seen something change in my face because some of the courage she'd forced herself into started slipping. "Okay," she said quickly, looking away. "That sounded like a lot. It was honest. That doesn't automatically make it less terrifying." Rain kept falling beyond the awning, turning the street silver. People rushed past with jackets over their heads, and the whole city seemed to blur at the edges while my brain tried to catch up. I looked at her. Really looked at her. Her pink cheeks, her hands still in her coat pockets. The fact that Mara Bennett, who could argue down a landlord, a professor, and a barista in the same afternoon, suddenly looked unsure of herself. That did something to me. "Mara," she looked back. "How long?" Her mouth twitched faintly. "That is a cruel first question." "Probably. But I need to know." She let out a breath. "A while. That's not a real answer." "Since your birthday." I frowned. "My birthday was 8 months ago." "Yes. The one where you told my sister she had terrible taste in balloons? They were grim balloons." Despite everything, I laughed. Mara smiled too, but only for a second. Then she said, quieter, "That was the night I realized I was in trouble." I stayed still. She looked past me at the rain. "You spent your whole birthday making sure everyone else had a good time. You fixed the speaker, cleaned up after your cousin spilled soda everywhere, and somehow still noticed I was cold and gave me your jacket without making a thing about it." Her eyes came back to mine. "And I remember thinking, this is bad." My chest tightened. "Ah, Mara." I didn't say anything because I thought maybe it would pass. Then I thought maybe you knew and were ignoring it. Then I thought maybe I was imagining half of what was between us. She laughed once under her breath. "And today you called me your wife in front of a stranger like that was the easiest word in the world." That landed deeper than I expected, because it had been easy. Too easy. I rubbed a hand over the back of my neck. "I think that's the part I'm trying to catch up to." She frowned slightly. "What does that mean?" "It means," I said slowly. The second I said it, it didn't feel weird. I shook my head, half laughing at myself. It felt normal, and that should probably have told me something before now. Mara's eyes stayed on mine. I kept going because there was no safe version of this anymore. "You want the truth? Every girl I've dated felt temporary. You never did." I exhaled. "You're the person I call first. The person I look for first. The person I plan around without even noticing I'm doing it." I smiled, a little helplessly. I think I've been hiding behind jokes because the real answer felt too important to get wrong. Something in her face softened then. Not all at once. Just enough. "So, what are you saying?" she asked. I stepped closer. Not much. Just enough that the distance between us stopped pretending to mean nothing. "I'm saying maybe everybody else was right before I was." I held her gaze. "And I'm saying that hearing you say you'd love, that was the first time in a long time something scared me and felt right at the same time." Mara's breath caught. Then she looked down, smiling in that quiet, disbelieving way people do when hope starts to feel dangerous again. "That," she murmured, "is annoyingly good." I panicked and got honest. "It's unsettling." "Give it time." That got a real laugh out of her. warm, soft, very Mara. And suddenly the panic between us turned into something lighter, not gone, just changed. She looked back up at me. So what happens now? I reached for the paper-wrapped lamp bag, set it down by the bakery window, then turned back to her. Now, I said, I stopped pretending that calling you my wife felt like a joke. Her whole expression shifted at that. Open now, hopeful, almost shy, which on Mara felt so rare it nearly undid me. I lifted a hand to her face, slow enough to give her time. She didn't move away, so I kissed her. Soft at first. Careful. Like the kind of kiss that feels less like a sudden decision and more like finally saying something both people have been circling for too long. When we pulled apart, Mara stayed close, her forehead almost touching mine, smiling in that quiet, stunned way people do when reality turns out better than the version they were afraid to hope for. Well, she whispered, that was worth the lamp. I laughed softly. So this whole day wasn't just about furniture? Oh, the lamp is excellent, she said. You just turned out to be the better purchase. That's a terrible sentence. And yet you liked it. Fair. A week later, her new apartment still had half unpacked boxes and exactly one lamp in the living room, the green one from the market. I was there helping her hang shelves she claimed I measured wrong. And she was there correcting me like she always did. Except now every argument ended with her smiling at me like she didn't have to hide anything anymore. That was the strange part. Nothing really felt forced after that. We still teased each other, still stole bites of each other's food, still argued about things that didn't matter. The only difference was that now, when she looked at me like home, I finally understood I'd been looking back the same way for a long time. So tell me, if you were in my place, what would you have done when she whispered, "I'd love that"? Leave it in the comments. And if you like this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.